What's poppin'? Brand new whip, just hopped in. I got options. I can pass that bitch like Stockton. Just joshing. I'm spending this holiday locked in. My body got rid of them toxins. Sports in the top 10.
Callin' my bitch, tell her bring me that noggin. Brain real good, she a scholar. I like a thing with low mileage, good brain with no college. Call me the baby, no Tyler. I'm real creative and stylish. F in my denim. I send that hit, make them spin 'em. And I just flew back from
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Episode 2 of Season 2 of Diamond in the Rough Sports Talk. Today's special guest, we have the national champion, who is also a Super Bowl champion and current NFL analyst, Mr. Marlon Favorite. Welcome to the show.
Fellas, what's up? What's up, man? Thank y'all so much for having me. I'm feeling the shirts, man. I like the Nipsey shirts. 100, man. Nipsey was 100, brother, for real.
Yes.
Dope.
Yes, sir. We appreciate that. So, obviously, we're in some difficult times, some very trying times where we have to rely on faith. Could you just tell us, how have you and your family been holding up thus far during this pandemic?
All is well, man. The family, we've been okay, just hanging in there, just practicing social distances as much as we can, masking up, making sure that we're keeping our kids with their nutrition as they prepare to get back into school. So I have 3 boys, Kentrell, Marlon Jr., and Titan Dallas. And Titan's still in nursery with my mother, and Marlon's doing virtual learning, so he's here at the house. Kentrell will start his virtual learning with De La Salle High School next week. They had all of their going back to school stuff this week. And, he's going into his junior season. He's a punter and the wide receiver at De La Salle. So he's going to do the first 4 weeks at the virtual learning deal, and then we'll see how everything goes from there. But they still have their practice schedule. They've been practicing since June. Wow. So he's been fine. So they've been doing a pretty decent job at just keeping the kids distance.
Yes, sir. That's definitely good to hear. Now, please take us back to the year 2007, the national championship year with the LSU Tigers. You guys, it was a very interesting year, considering that you guys lost 2 games, but still somehow found a way to win the national championship. So could you just take us back through that year and just talk about, how did you guys remain confident in yourselves after losing to Arkansas and Kentucky?
Yeah, that was a magical year, guys. And we just had our reunion, our 2017 reunion back 2017, and all of us got together. Actually, LSU won a big-time game. They came back and after we hit the field at halftime, they came back juiced up and won that game. And from there, Coach Ed Ogeron has really been growing with that team. So a lot of folks said that it was that 07 juices around there that really helped out in changing the culture there. But with some great memories, that was just a team of faith. We always attended Bible study. We had a lot of faith and believed that all was possible. And I remember going up to Bible studies on Wednesday with Brother Floyd and Pastor E on game day, just getting us right. So, miracles happen. You have to have a substantial amount of faith. And from that piece, what ended up happening, we ended up just continuing to work, and we knew that we had all of the pieces to do it from the year before, 2006. We badly lost to Florida. They beat us last minute with the trick Tebow play, and we saw that they beat Ohio State pretty bad in the national championship. Like, man, we're better than both of those teams. And sure enough, that we lost a couple of firsts. That's when somebody. You had Jamarcus Russell, Dwayne Bowe, LaRon Landry, Craig Davis. We had 4 first-rounders off of that season. We lost to Florida at Florida, and we had a lot of talent coming back. So, up front, guys like me, Glenn Dorsey, Tyson Jackson, Charles Alexander. Later on, some guys like Ricky Jean Francois, Drake Nevis, L. Woods. These guys, all of us, Kirsten Pittman from the defensive end, Tremaine Johnson from the defensive end, that rotation of guys, Raheem Alim, we all had a connection and a flow. So it never mattered who was in the game or what rotation of guys. Everyone was on one accord. So the team really fed off of that energy. We had leadership on both sides of the ball. And it was just a magical year. We knew we had to finish. So and that's what we did. And let the chips fall how they fall, baby.
Definitely. Now, during that year, Coach Bo Pelini was you guys' defensive coordinator, correct?
That's right. Go P.
Right. And now he's he's continued his career. He's back at LSU now. So just tell us some characteristics of the typical Bo Pelini defense.
Well, it's a base 4-3 defense. We had 4 down linemen, 3 athletic linebackers. He liked to have a middle linebacker like Derek Beckwith did an amazing job for us at the middle linebacker. He was that 225, 230 range, but could play in the box well, could tackle. We had guys like Ali Highsmith on that team, Luke Sanders. We had a rotation of guys. We would play sometimes. We would bring a safety in the box like a Craig Stelz and have him be that third linebacker and bring an extra guy on like a Danny McCray, a Jai Eugene, just to give our defense that balance. And we had a legit 10, 11-man rotation up front on the D-line, so we kept fresh bodies. So whenever you were in, you were going. Like we worked our tails off. We had a pretty good dual threat at quarterback, and I do mean dual. I'm using it in the term of 2 guys. When Matt Flynn was able to command the team and play well, we saw that in the NFL. And of course, Ryan Perrilloux, who was also a big dog for us. Receiving core was together. You had guys like the Cincinnati Bengals, Brandon LaFell, Early Doucette. So we had a group of running backs, guys like Keelan Williams, Quinn Johnson, my big dog and my LSU brother, Sports Network brother, Jacob Hester, Charles Scott. It was just, I'm naming these guys. I didn't even get in the secondary fully with like Curtis Taylor and outside of Shevis Jackson. And later on, the 5th year of Patrick Peterson, coming in, young Patrick Peterson. True story, sidebar, where we're telling these old LSU stories and we're talking about a Pelini's defense. We were supposed to have, get this, Delvin Breaux at one corner and Patrick Peterson at the other corner for LSU.
Run that. He's tight.
If you remember the story correctly, Delvin Breaux broke his neck.
Right.
Delvin's going to come on my podcast in a couple episodes, but Delvin Breaux broke his neck. LSU honored his scholarship. He came to LSU, and he really was just shelved at LSU. Never gave up on his dream. He was working as a bar back guy. That's an amazing story. And he ended up, I remember at this time I was with the arena football team. He tried out for us 3 times and ran a 4.3 3 times. So our head coach, Coach Pat O'Hara, called me and said, Big Fave, man, tell me what you think about Delvin Breaux. I said, Coach, let me tell you something. I told him the story just like I told y'all the Patrick Peterson story. I told him, I said, Coach, he's going to come there. He's going to do damage for us. His first few weeks with us, he ended up, I remember my coach, my D-line coach, Coach Miller, he said, oh, yeah, he's not going to be with us for too much longer. But, hey, brother, next week he was gone. Canada came, but he had hit the waivers like in arena football when he had like a little minor injury, like a little shoulder. It was like a little 2-week deal, but you have to go on this IR list, and other teams could give you a holler on that list. So a lot of arena teams hit us up, but the Canadian teams were hitting them up, and he ended up going out there to play with Hamilton for a few years, and opportunity came up where the NFL took a spike at him, like 16 teams, and he had an amazing career at the Saints. So he's still balling out there in Canada. Good guy. Wanted to segue into that. I know we were talking about the Bo Pelini defense was a great defense, but that if we would have ever had that, we wouldn't have lost all the games we did my 5th senior year. Hello, somebody.
Yes, sir. Definitely. Speaking of cornerbacks, with the dominant cornerback that Delvin Breaux is, another guy comes to mind at LSU, Derek Stingley. When he was able to do his freshman year at LSU, it was special. Considering that he will continue on a path that he is on, and we know that LSU is the real DBU, does he have a chance to be the best defensive back to ever play at LSU?
Oh yeah, no doubt. And how young boy, a couple of those other rappers I just said, I'm not capping on this either. Yeah. I actually I just finished. I'm talking to his dad, Derek Stingley Sr. You bring up Derek Stingley, he has an amazing backstory. Not to get too deep into it, but his dad actually coached in the Arena Football League. That's how I know his dad. With the Pittsburgh Steelers, with the Pittsburgh team, also with New Orleans. With New Orleans as well, with the Voodoo. He's done broadcasting as a coach, professional for a long time. And when Derek was a kid, 10, 11 years old, he used to go to the arena practices and practice with the pros. Now, my son has done that as well, my oldest son, Kentrell, and it does make a difference in your football IQ, and that's why you see that. And I've had guys on the pro level working with LSU Sports Network. You talk to all kind of guys. I've had pro guys say if he was to come out this year, I mean, the kid was 18, he would have been the first cornerback off of the board in this past draft. First player or first receiver off of the board, Jamar Chase, and he was 19 doing that. So LSU has some wicked talent. CeeDee Lamb, and I quote, y'all can pull this up, he said that's the toughest cornerback he ever played against.
He did.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah.
He said the combine.
Oh, yeah, no cap. Yeah, so LSU has talent. But that kid there, so y'all been in broadcasting now for over 5 years, and just covering high school football, we covered Dunham High School. I think it was his freshman or sophomore year. They had him returning punts. He played receiver, played DB. I mean, his football knowledge is through the roof. So when I'm at those games, those stadiums aren't all that big. You know, he and his dad and I would talk a lot. And I can remember when, as a kid, he would go to like one thing that Derek Stingley Jr. did was he made sure he went around the leagues. I mean, around the he took his visits. He went to different pro days. He so on and so forth with all of those different things for a high school kid. Go to those different camps, got the rapport, and he's always wanted. That's why he committed to LSU so fast. They knew what their decision was. I talked to his dad before because he was going to make his big announcement. He made his big announcement that summer 19, or should I say going into summer 18, going into his senior year in high school that he was going to LSU. And because they know that that's what he wanted to do. That was his dream. He gets there. We do spring coverage. Check his spring coverage out. Insane, fellas. Like, that kid has a bright future. He's going places. He's top dog. I'm telling you right now, I made a bold statement. I had to one of my buddies, Oliver, out in UK, they have a podcast out there. I did it this morning. I said LSU's 2019 team last year would have beat half of the NFL teams.
Oh.
Now, I said that. Now, it was early in the morning, when I did that. But I made that statement boldly because look at the talent on that team and look what they did to top-notch NCAA schools.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, we ran through Texas. We ran through Florida. We ran through Alabama. Like, that was a hurdle. We beat them gracefully. You know, we get to the SEC championship. We beat the heck out of Georgia. We beat Oklahoma.
That's right.
We just beat the brakes off of everybody, right? And then we get to the national championship. Everybody, it's Clemson. We beat the brakes off of them. That team right there, those coaches, think about it. The quarterback from that team and 5 other guys went first round. You know, Justin Jefferson, all kind of folks like that. I've been knowing Justin since he was a little kid, too. I covered him with Destrehan. But what really matters is the amount of first-round talent that team had. If a team drafts you in the first round, you're playing. There's no, hey, we're going to sit you here. And that's an investment. We're putting you on the field some type of way. You started. We drafted you in the first round. I don't care if you're a development piece or you're going to get a substantial amount of reps. And then you have a lot of second-round talent that ends up starting. Greedy, instant starter. Tre'Davious White, instant starter. Dante Jackson, instant starter. So if LSU already have this reputation of smashing in the league, I'm going to tell you, one of the best receivers in the NFL right now is can't guard Mike. Jamar Chase is giving him every bit of dollar for dollar. And Jamar is 19.
Definitely.
Yeah. And he's from the West Bank too. And Mike's can't guard Mike for a reason. Nobody can guard Mike. They definitely can't guard Jay.
Yeah.
That's a new one. Hey, Jay, I gave you a new plug line, boy. Tell Jimmy I said what's happening. One night, like I said, bro, see these things right here? I have them on every game.
Right. You see it all.
I see it with my glasses on. I say, yeah, it's live and living color.
So, tell us about you as a player. For the people who haven't seen you. I remember you. I remember watching you as a little boy. I always used to say. I always used to tell my dad, "Man, Dad, number 99 is dominant. I don't know who he is, but he's dominant." And me and my dad would go back and forth. He would say, "Well, he's doing this, and that. That's what you need to do." Yada yada yada. So, just for those who haven't seen you play, tell us what made you so dominant. I was listening to your podcast on my way over here. As a matter of fact, how you were saying you were the number 1 defensive tackle in the country coming out of high school. So just tell us, just take us inside the trenches, like you like to call it, and tell us, what made you so dominant.
Well, before I dive into me, man, shout out to you and your dad, man. I appreciate y'all for following my career, bro. It means a lot, K. So I really appreciate that. But I guess it's so natural for you to, especially in broadcasting now, to evaluate other players and, kind of critique different guys and players and what they do. But I guess for me as a player now, as an older guy, looking back at my career side, hindsight, what I see, okay, so at high school I was coached well, extremely well. I had Coach Hank Tierney, Coach Malta, Coach Ricky, Coach Pierce at West Jeff. It was a whole bunch of, like they say, it takes a village to raise a kid. Or village to raise a child, excuse me, guys. But I had that in high school, so a lot of that technique and a lot of those things were already there. Before that, God's given ability. I was blessed to have a wide frame and could bench. I think the most I've ever benched, I'll tell you the most I did was 525 on the bench. And I squatted, I stopped myself at 670 on the squats. So to be able to understand the leverage game as an interior lineman at a tender age of 14, 15 years old, to be able to get that technique. That's what my company, Conquer Sports Pros, I like it when we get kids, high school football players between the ages of between 13 and 15, so we can start helping them, because it's reputation. Like, I think Lil Wayne said this on one of his albums, Carter 3, reputation. Repping it out is the father of learning. Repetition is the father of learning. So being able to get those reps, like, no offense to like a guy like Marcus Davenport, let me tell you, when he's 10 years in, he's Pro Bowl. If he continues on this path, he can wear a gold jacket at that position. But he was a late developer. David Onyemata, he was a late developer. These are guys who, at this position, as a defensive lineman, really started to kick in senior year in college. Coach Sean and Jeff Ireland and all those guys over there at the Saints front office, they really could get a gauge on where a guy's potential is going to reach and where it's ceiling. So that's why they said, okay, we're going to jump up and get this guy because he's that type of talent. But as you see, his first years in the league is slow. Cam Jordan, first few years in the league, those first 2 threes. After that, Cam went to doing this, because his game got better. So if you can get that so I was blessed with technique early. I keep on jacking Lil Wayne and Drake's lyrics. I listen to a lot of hip hop when I work out and stuff like that. So I wish I was a little bit taller. I wish I was a baller. That wasn't Wayne right there. That was Special E. But Wayne said it again on the what mixtape was that? The Dedication 6, the Flyway beat. But that's my story. I wish I was a little bit taller. I wish I was a baller. If you're 6 feet, you better be Aaron Donald. You know what I'm saying? And I was fast. Like, my 40 time at its best, I want to say it was my sophomore year at LSU, was a 4.87. And I was about 295. I ran it again at 317. I ran a 4.96. And then I ran a 4.99 at like 3:30. And the other day, at 3:30 plus, I ran like a 5.1. So, 5.2 and 5.2 and 7.7. And I didn't really warm up. I just kind of ran it. So that type of to get off, that helped my game. So it was probably in my best interest at LSU to leave my junior year right after we won the national championship, where the iron was striking hot. Probably would have been a better choice for me, but it was a better choice for me to stay because I was able to graduate.
Definitely.
And now my post-career, being able to graduate, have a concentration in communications and be able to finesse that into a broadcasting career and work hard at it and take the stuff you actually got from college and the stuff you naturally have and just the reps going on different radio and television stations to do that helped out a lot. So I'm glad I did finish. But, shoot, second round grade, I had a second round grade, and I went back and we had a – yep, my bad. Y'all good?
Oh, it's all good. Yes, sir. We all
Hey,
good.
now let me ask y'all this. We back on. Y'all was able to save what we had earlier, huh?
Yeah, we got it. But you was telling a real interesting story, man, about you remember what you were saying about your okay, all right.
Well, that's the beauty of being a recording artist. I didn't write any of this down, but I could go back. Was the last thing I mentioned, was it about my second round grade at LSU?
Yes.
Y'all caught that much? Okay, so in my junior year, I had a second round grade. You get to do an analogy on where you're at. You get to, because you when you're eligible for insurance policies in college, you have to look at that and see where you place at. And I was a second round grade, 07. But I'm a man of my word. My oldest cousin, he always told me, he was like, man, you need to finish school, bro. Whatever you do, finish the school. So I'm a man of my word. So I kept my word. And like I said, man, you're 20, 21, 22 years old. Like, you got your teammates, cats you just balled with. They declare the draft. They pull up in Benzes, Hummers, BMWs. I mean, you got 3-digit numbers on the back. That it's enticing.
Right.
You're young. So I started to do that, but I'm like, let me go back. And that next year wasn't all that hot. We lost a lot of games. This was Patrick Peterson and Delvin, bro, that story I was running with y'all earlier. This was their freshman year, my 5th senior year. And I basically graduated that spring, and I was just going back to school for basically to start working towards my grad school and then finish off with ball. And it just ended up being one of those years. It was just – that year was really a blur. We weren't winning games like we was the year before. It was just so naturally my draft stock dropped, right? And then it was like the way the draft works, it was a whole bunch of D tackles falling off the board the previous draft. So a lot of teams had already spent a substantial amount of first. Now, you had a couple of guys in my class that they had their eyes on, but I remember the last drop I got was from Mayock. Mayock dropped his deal, and he had me like going 6th round in San Diego. So me and my agent, I'm always optimistic. I always look at the glass half full as opposed to half empty. So ended up going undrafted to Carolina, and from there just became a journeyman. So that first year in the NFL, I bounced around to about 5 of those NFL teams. And then with New Orleans winning the Super Bowl with the Saints. And then I got released from New Orleans. It's a whole nother story. And then I ended up in Buffalo. And then Buffalo released me. I went to Indy. And then from Indy, I went to the UFL my first run. For the Hartford Colonials, by the way, you made $1,000 more than you did on the practice squad in the NFL, but all of it was good money. And then from there, I went back into the NFL to the Patriots. We go into a lockout, in 2011. So at this point, I'm going into my third year as a professional. That's the make or break the year. So then get picked up by sign a future deal with the Patriots, get released from the Patriots, go to the Eagles. And this is the Eagles team where it was like Michael Vick, we had Vince Young, we had Ndamukong Suh, we had like Jason Babin, Trent. Like it was the dream team. I was on the dream team.
Definitely.
Coach Andy Reid, shouts out to Big Red. He just won him a Super Bowl. A couple New Orleans cats, you heard me. LaTyron, Darryl Williams, shouts out West Bank too. You know what I'm saying? We in here. To be out there for the Super Bowl this past year was epic, man. It was wonderful to broadcast it, knowing we had, New Orleans connections. Like me and Darryl would text the next day, like, bro, I'm on the beach where you at. He said, I'm on the other side. I said, bro, congrats. It was a good feeling for some LSU 504 cats. And then, y'all, I ended up, Marlon Jr. was about to be born. So not being stable at that time wouldn't get good for the mental. You about to have a baby, all this going on. And I remember I got released from Philly, then got picked back up by San Diego. By St. Louis for my second stint to St. Louis, because I went my rookie year too. That's how me and that boy Chris Long cool. And from there, I ended up getting released from them. So shouts out to the home and Steve Spag too. He throughout the NFL journey, he was somebody that always kept it 100 with me. Yeah. So I had it when we were the same.
That's real tight.
No, we don't do no capping either. You know what I'm saying? And then, and then after that, I was just glad to just kind of take a break for a second. Like I remember my agent was telling me Denver had called, but I was like, all right, tell them, hey, bro, look, if they ain't talking about no money up front, I'm not interested. I got that frustrated with the NFL. They ended up not calling back, but it was just I had a little gig working with the at-risk youth in the area with this with Cafe Hope. So that kind of brought me joy because I'm helping people out. You know what I'm saying? You kind of put your stuff to the side for a second, you heard me, and try to help some other folks out. And, yeah, man, it was just something I did arena football. This was the year I started my training business. In 2012, I was like, I got to figure this out. So what ended up happening was 2012 hit, I signed with the New Orleans Voodoo team. By the way, the money wasn't there, but the whole experience was priceless.
About your okay. All right.
Well, that's the beauty of being a recording artist. I didn't write any of this down, but I could go back. Was the last thing I mentioned, was it about my second round grade at LSU?
Yes.
Y'all caught that much? Okay, so in my junior year, I had a second round grade. You get to do an analogy on where you're at. You get to, because when you're eligible for insurance policies in college, you have to look at that and see where you place at. And I was a second round grade, 07. But I'm a man of my word. My oldest cousin, he always told me, he was like, man, you need to finish school, bro. Whatever you do, finish the school. So I'm a man of my word. So I kept my word. And like I said, man, you're 20, 21, 22 years old. Like, you got your teammates, cats you just balled with. They declare the draft. They pull up in Benzes, Hummers, BMWs. You got 3-digit numbers on the back. That it's enticing. You're young. So I started to do that, but I'm like, let me go back. And that next year wasn't all that hot. We lost a lot of games. This was Patrick Peterson and Delvin, bro, that story I was running with y'all earlier. This was their freshman year, my 5th senior year. And I basically graduated that spring, and I was just going back to school for basically to start working towards my grad school and then finish off with ball. And it just ended up being one of those years. It was just – that year was really a blur. We weren't winning games like we was the year before. It was just so naturally my draft stock dropped, right? And then it was like the way the draft works, it was a whole bunch of D tackles falling off the board the previous draft. So a lot of teams had already spent a substantial amount of first. Now, you had a couple of guys in my class that they had their eyes on, but I remember the last drop I got was from Mayock. Mayock dropped his deal, and he had me like going 6th round to San Diego. So me and my agent, I'm always optimistic. I always look at the glass half full as opposed to half empty. So ended up going undrafted to Carolina, and from there just became a journeyman. So that first year in the NFL, I bounced around to about 5 of those NFL teams. And then with New Orleans winning the Super Bowl with the Saints. And then I got released from New Orleans. It's a whole nother story. And then I ended up in Buffalo. And then Buffalo released me. I went to Indy. And then from Indy, I went to the UFL my first run. For the Hartford Colonials, by the way, you made $1,000 more than you did on the practice squad in the NFL, but all of it was good money. And then from there, I went back into the NFL to the Patriots. We go into a lockout in 2011. So at this point, I'm going into my 3rd year as a professional. That's the make or break the year. So then get picked up by sign a future deal with the Patriots, get released from the Patriots, go to the Eagles. And this is the Eagles team where it was like Michael Vick, we had Vince Young, we had Ndamukong Suh, we had like Jason Babin, Trent. Like it was the dream team. I was on the dream team.
Definitely.
Coach Andy Reid, shouts out to Big Red. He just won him a Super Bowl. A couple New Orleans cats, you heard me. LaTyron, Darryl Williams, shouts out West Bank too. You know what I'm saying? We in here. To be out there for the Super Bowl this past year was epic, man. It was wonderful to broadcast it, knowing we had, New Orleans connections. Like me and Darryl would text the next day, like, bro, I'm on the beach where you at. He said, I'm on the other side. I said, bro, congrats. It was a good feeling for some LSU 504 cats. And then, y'all, I ended up, Marlon Jr. was about to be born. So not being stable at that time wouldn't get good for the mental. You about to have a baby, all this going on. And I remember I got released from Philly. Then got picked back up by San Diego. By St. Louis for my second stint to St. Louis, because I went my rookie year too. That's me and that boy Chris Long cool. And from there, I ended up getting released from them. So shouts out to the home and Steve Spag too. He throughout the NFL journey, he was somebody that always kept it 100 with me.
Yeah.
So I had it when we were the same.
That's real tight.
No, we don't do no capping either. You know what I'm saying? And then after that, I was just glad to just kind of take a break for a second. Like I remember my agent was telling me Denver had called, but I was like, all right, tell them, hey, bro, look, if they ain't talking about no money up front, I'm not interested. I got that frustrated with the NFL. They ended up not calling back, but it was just I had a little gig working with the at-risk youth in the area with this with Cafe Hope. So that kind of brought me joy because I'm helping people out. You know what I'm saying? You kind of put your stuff to the side for a second, you heard me, try to help some other folks out. And, yeah, man, it was just something I did arena football. This was the year I started my training business. In 2012, I was like, I got to figure this out. So what ended up happening was 2012 hit, I signed with the New Orleans Voodoo team. By the way, the money wasn't there, but the whole experience was priceless.
I'm sure you have a pregame routine that you would always do. What about for your now that you are NFL analyst? What is your pregame show routine like? I know for myself, I treat it just as I did when I was playing football. I would have a pregame meal. I listen to my music. I get in my zone, and then I come in and I do the. Do you have a routine that's like that?
I keep it the same way, man. So for the LSU Sports Network, they usually put us up in Lyle Cook Hotel. So I'll always get up before I touch any food. I go to the gym down there. They got like little light weights in there, so you hit that, you hit the tread a little bit, and then I'll add a little more cardio. I'll jog around the lake, or the lake's pretty big, so I'll go halfway and then come back around, like just to get a little exercise in, and then do my pregame meal the way we used to do it, and then get ready to go out there. I do a very light pregame meal because on the broadcasting side, They try to get you as much food. It's food. So pretty similar.
Definitely. Well, that's all the questions I have for you. Netterville, the floor is now yours.
What's up, Ma?
Whoa, nah.
I'm chilling. So, for my first question, so how do you feel about the NFL extending the season longer? And how do you feel about the players' bodies holding up throughout that as well?
Well, with the NFL, I think with the extension, it's really about adding more real games as opposed to preseason games, because the preseason games aren't really where you're making your money. So that's why I remember most of the checks I used to get was preseason checks. They wasn't – they were small. You get what I'm saying? They were God, it's there. Compared to the regular season checks, because that's where most of the advertising kicks in, the sponsorship. So, that's the whole deal with sports. It's you make money off advertising and ticket sales, and that's when most of the games are being sold and they're making money across the deal. So I think them adding more games gives them more opportunity to make more money.
So, please elaborate on a strong bond you and the Super Bowl, the ex-NFL Super Bowl champion Ryan Clark have, and can you please elaborate, give full details on how far do y'all go back up to now?
So me and Ryan, man, it's a cool story. Ryan is also an Archbishop Shaw grad. So my first 2 years in high school, I went to Shaw, and my last 2 years I went to West Jeff. Well, the connection is the coach Hank Tierney I was telling you guys about earlier. So Ryan was at LSU, and of course he would come back down. His younger brother, Chaz Clark, we were classmates at Shaw. So it was the Clark's family has always been like family friends. And then from there, Ryan went on to the NFL. Well, I went on to LSU. So then I would see Ryan again at LSU. He would come visit his old alma mater. So we would cross paths. So when they would have a bye week, he would be there. Like, what's up? What's up, Fave? Like, we always say, what's up? Then I go to the NFL, and I play against the Pittsburgh Steelers like 3 times. So every time we play the Steelers, running to Ryan. What's up, bro? Man, we keeping up with you. What's happening, dog? What's good, bro? How the family? All is well. Gangster, bro. Tell your brother I said what's happening. You do the same piece. So it's always been that deal. So then I do the sports training. Ryan's doing sports training. So most of my clientele's in Baton Rouge. So when I go to Baton Rouge, these guys go to U High. They just so happen to be friends with Ryan's son, Jordan Clark. So now me and Ryan Clark attending U High games together. I'm looking at my clients, doing my evaluation. At this time, my son's not in high school yet, So I'm going out there and, we catch up all the time. And shouts out to Ryan, man. RC, he a real one. Ryan would be giving me those little tidbits you need to sustain in this industry, just on the cool, like personally, like the family life, how that flows. Just keep grinding, man. You're doing well. I like that you're doing reps. Keep doing those reps. And across the board, too, Ryan Clark, Reggie Wayne, Marcus Spears, Booger McFall, and these guys have my contacts. And as they saw me growing in the industry, they would just give, like Spears, like I'll do some stuff with the NFL, or I'll have another television gig, and he happens to see it. Like when I went on the NFL Network and when I was doing the broadcast stuff, he would text my phone and he would say, "Hey, Faye, big dog, man, you good, but let your personality show, bro. Do your thing, personality. Let them see more of that, though, bro. You one take Faye, but you looking good, bro. Doing good. Keep up the good work. Proud of you." Like that's how those dudes operate. So it's cool that it's not a. And really, when I made it to the NFL Network that time, one of my buddies over at LSU, Jeff, he had posted, Big Faye solidifying that LSU is not only DBU but broadcast you. You're starting to get more circle of us getting in the industry. So it's it's all an overall blessing.
You know how you said how you mentioned the name Ryan Clark and Marcus Spears. You know how you as Marcus Spears and Ryan Clark, they told everybody. They said, man, LSU gonna punish Clemson. They said it was taking all bets. They told the world.
Hey, bro, I was putting my bets up too here locally and regionally too, bro, because when you know football, you know football. And when we put the 2 and 2 together, and let me tell y'all another tidbit, it's about to get even uglier. So let's do math. You ready for this? Joe Brady coached under Sean Payton for what, 1 or 2 years?
Correct.
How about Coach Carter, who's been over there for about 15 years? Now he's on LSU staff.
Ooh.
So he's been in Coach CJ and Coach Sean Payton's offense since before the Super Bowl.
Ooh.
So he's at LSU now. I don't think that offense going to change that much. Matter of fact, it might just get even better.
Wow.
So when college football happens, it'll be a good watch.
They cut LSU covering all spreads, huh? Over and under, huh?
What little baby say? It could get ugly.
Omar, can you name a time that you was faced with adversity and how did you overcome it?
My rookie year in the NFL. That was one of the sports-wise biggest adverse moments I've had. That rookie year, that back and forth from the airplanes, just not being able to be concrete when you're leaving a concrete situation. So it was a crash course for learning the NFL that no college could prepare you for. And to go through and have that experience as a journeyman, like, man, in the year of 2009, I worked out and played for like 8-9 teams. So I worked out for Atlanta. I worked out for Buffalo. I had to work out for Kansas City. They signed me. Buffalo signed me like later on. Carolina. So my first year, so the first 5 teams was Carolina undrafted, get released, St. Louis, get released, Kansas City. By the way, Kansas City, and I had workouts with Atlanta and other teams in between, but Kansas City was my longest stint on one team. I was in Kansas City during the season. I was in Kansas City for like 10, 11 weeks of the regular season. So I was able to, it was cool then. You know what I'm saying? Even on the practice squad, you're getting paid like a doctor. So then Kansas City released me, and then Seattle picked me up. So it was crazy. So I got my oldest son, Kentrell, my wife, Tanisha. At the time, we weren't even engaged yet. Like, we was just fresh out of college, and they came out there for Thanksgiving. You know, she was off work. She was like, I won't come out there. So she came out there to my extended stay, and that's my there we go. Your mic is unmuted. Okay, cool. Sorry about that. So she came out there to my extended stay, her and Kentrell. Like, that was his first time on a plane. As about, I think Kentrell was like 4 or 5. And I get released that day. Like, maybe they had been out there like maybe 2 or 3 days. So I'm like, oh, snap. So she was like, I'm going to just cancel, because she wouldn't go, her flight was planned for like later on. So I'm like, man, let's just gas this thing up and go. While I'm driving down to New Orleans from Kansas City, it's like a 14-hour ride. It's raining at parts. I ain't couch going. Teams was hitting us up, like Oakland hit my agent up, because you hit the wires. Once you hit the wires, other teams hit you up. And Seattle hit me up. But Seattle was like, seriously, like, when you get there, bro, I get to New Orleans, talk about adversity. I get to New Orleans, we go straight to the airport. I'm trying to pack a little bag. I was going to have them ship the rest of my stuff, and I missed my flight to Seattle. I had to stay in Dallas. So I got to Dallas. I had a layover in Dallas, and then the connection missed. Luckily, at the time it was Coach Mora. He was like, man, we still want Marlon, so they brought me the next week. I remember I had all my stuff already in my locker. He was like, we had your stuff already here. Seattle was cool, man. I loved it out there, man. Coach Mora was a real one. Coach Jim Mora Jr., he a real one. Yeah, he another real one.
For sure. What was it about the name Trenches that made you want to name that as your podcast, In the Trenches?
I think mainly is an area that I became an expert in football, but you have to be an expert at life too, constantly learn and get better at life. And a lot of times we in the trenches anyway. You know, like right now, shouts out to all the medical staff and, you know, people out there on the front line in the medical field fighting this coronavirus. They in the trenches. You know, y'all in the trenches right now. Y'all young cats in y'all 20s trying to take y'all's broadcasting career to the next year. Well, sometimes you got to do 7 o'clock interviews. That's time frame work. Now y'all in the trenches. So it's something that was universal, and I just wanted it to be able to resonate with everyone.
Right. Talk about your experience playing under Coach Belichick.
Man, it was a cool experience. At moments you felt like you was walking on eggshells, but for the most part, the perception of this Belichick guy, this mean, this you talk to me out. He's not that person, man. Like, I'll never forget. Now, when I first got signed, he was eating lunch, and I was just wanting to just kind of say, hey, Coach, thanks for signing me. And somebody from the staff like, oh, no, you can't talk to him while he's eating. Okay, I'm going to just go to my little extended stay over here, and I'll just holler at him tomorrow, you heard me? Straight up. But I was just going to say thank you. So the next day it was business. Coach Pepper Johnson, shouts out to Coach Pepper Johnson. He's a cool coach. Man, guys like Big Vince, Will Fart, you know, playing around Albert Hainsworth, like guys that really and to take a little bit from each of their games, you know. So that experience, Coach Belichick, was cool. I remember when we came back from the lockout, he's like, man, Marlon, you're in pretty good shape. Because, like, a lot of guys weren't in shape, even, like, skilled guys. And he was like, and I was like, man, Coach, when the last time you talked to Coach Saban? Oh, I talked to him a while back, man, a couple of days ago. All is well with him, man. I said, man, tell Coach, I said, what's up? And we'll do. And I remember one time after practice, like during training camp, we used to do these like fun meetings. So like if you got a talent or you could do anything. So what happened was, you know, Patrick Chung, he'd be rapping. You know, he has his music too. So he didn't have his track with him. So I was like, man, I could bebop the deal, you know what I'm saying? I'm from the NOLA, bro. We make it do. So, man, let me see what you got. I'm with hitting that beat. He like, oh, I can spit to that. So he went to rapping, and that was his talent. The whole meeting was like, that was cool. And then Coach Belichick, very subtle, say, man, that was pretty impressive. But one of the more impressive parts was, man, Marlon's bebopping, man. Just like that. So it was a cool experience. You know, I later on got cut. But I tell you one thing. The Patriots, look, they're first class, bro. When I got released, it was a sad moment, but I got picked up in a very nice limo, and I got dropped off, and they flew me back to New Orleans first class. So wow. I'm like sobbing over a steak. You feel me? Hello, somebody.
Okay, now we talking sports. You know, and we gonna call everything spade a spade. Is the New Orleans Saints the best team in the NFC South?
Yeah.
Why?
The New Orleans Saints are the best, especially in this climate, in this corona climate. I think they may be, if not second or third, one of the best teams in the NFL. Because you have to look at it like this. Okay, you have Drew Brees coming back, right? You have two other contingency plans if anything goes wrong with Drew, right? You have Alvin Kamara, a healthier Alvin Kamara. You have now Emmanuel Sanders in the receiving core. Can't guard Mike. And Jared Cook's coming back. On the defensive line, we mentioned Davenport. You have Cam on the other end. You have Onyemata, and you have a healthy Sheldon Rankins back. Linebacking core led by Demario Davis. A more mature secondary. You know, you have a guy like Marshawn Lattimore, who's in now his fourth year. And then on the other end, you have Janoris Jenkins, who has done an exceptional job out in New York. So you have enough firepower coming back. So they're the most in a corona team because it's not too many new pieces. Whereas you look across the NFC South, Tom Brady the GOAT, let's be honest, right? It just is what it is. He's bling-blinging over there. So, but he didn't get to have a full OTAs with these guys in the spring. He didn't get to have that May, June, and a part of July he needed. to really start. So that's a question mark. Their running game is a potential question mark. You have a defense that is solid, so you don't have too many issues there. So Tampa's going to be a challenge. Atlanta now has Ty Gurley. So automatically, I think their running game improves. Matt Ryan has the experience, and he's just young enough to be able to still put the ball to Julio Jones. Their defense, led by New Orleans native Deion Jones, they're probably the second most stable team in our conference. And last but certainly not least, you have the Carolina Panthers. To me, they're the surprise team. We don't know what they're going to be. You have this young, knowledgeable offensive coordinator and Joe Brady, who just came off a magical year with LSU. You have this coach who's used to rebuilding and getting things situated. Hold on one second. Could y'all cut the light back on, please? Sorry about that. You know, you have this young, appreciate you. You have this young, hold on one second, y'all. That's the beauty of having a 16-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 17-month-old. So and you have Coach Matt Rule, who's known for fixing a situation wherever he goes. You got the Baylor deal, so you have that. Teddy Bridgewater and Joe Brady, who already has a relationship. Big money Christian McCaffrey, and their defense isn't bad. So you have, they're trying to rebuild from their Cam era. So I think out of those 4 teams in the NFC South, the Saints are the most stable, and I think they're the better team in the NFC South.
For my last question, what is your burning desire?
Man, that's big time, bro. I think now a desire of mine is to pour as much as I can back into my community and implement the good things that we're doing in this community across other communities in the world. And we're using sport as the medicine, as the platform, but what we're doing more than that, and the vision and the mission and desire, is being able to help use your resources, use what you have, and help the next person out. Not only from economical standpoint, but also you look at every other angle. So continuing to partner with the right folks to get things going for the next group is where I'm at. Because like I said, I'm in my early 30s, man. I'm enjoying life. I'm starting to, the stuff I prayed for and worked hard for in my mid to late 20s is now manifesting, and I'm excited about that, and what's to come. So that's where I'm at with my desires, more of a mission and a vision too as well.
Definitely. Well, Mr. Favorite, before we let you go, can you tell us your social media platforms?
Sure, man. They can check me out at BigFave504. That's BIGFAB504. You could go to your podcast app on your phone or iTunes and download Inside the Trenches podcast, or wherever you have podcasts at. You can just type podcast in your Apple Store or your Play Store if you have an Android, and type in podcast, and one will pop up. Get there, type my name in, and subscribe. And we'll greatly appreciate that. And that's how you can follow me, baby.
Yes, sir. Well, we thank you for blessing us with this interview and all your stories you had, man. It was nice. It truly was nice, and like I say, we just want to thank you again, and as much as you've helped us out and been like almost like a big brother to us, we really do appreciate it.
Yes, indeed.
Man, no problem, fellas. Thank y'all so much for having me on, and let's keep climbing. Hello, somebody.
Definitely. Take it easy.